Hear this. Mount Aquina in the 1990s. You're just driving down in your cool 1993 Mazda RX-7 and then you realize something passed you. It was not really a Nissan Skyline or a Honda Civic. It was a Toyota Corolla. But why? No one really dared to answer this question. The only thing that they know is this Corolla wasn't just an old school economy car that your parents usually drives around you to school in or take the groceries. This is the beginning of a true legend that defined every drifting course in reality. This is the Toyota Corolla AE86. So what is the story behind the Toyota Corolla AE86? The AE86, also known as the Toyota Corolla 11, is basically part of the 1980s Toyota Corolla, which debuted in 1983 towards 1987. The Toyota Corolla, or simply the Toyota 86, is one of the most legendary Japanese cars in history. But why? Why it had to be a Corolla, you ask? Well, the story was played simple. When Initial D first released in the 1990s, many people assume one economical tribute to that kind of anime trope, the Toyota Corolla AE86. And here's when it all struck into place. The Toyota Corolla AE86 is basically the most uncommon drift car in the world, but then when it comes to Initial D, that's when you realize the whole thing was absolutely backwards. The Toyota AE86 Corolla, or simply known as the Toyota Corolla 86, is basically just a basic road car that your parents usually drive around in. But then when you realize one thing, what if you actually raced this thing on a mountain curve late at night? And that's when the story makes absolute sense. The Toyota Corolla AE86 wasn't just legendary, it became the actual symbol of what Initial D was. It became the holy grail of anime racing, and that is how everything was just fitting into the story. The Toyota Corolla 86 doesn't just become a simple machine, it became the machine that was meant to drift. It was meant to embarrass every other Japanese car of its era, and that just proves that Initial D doesn't just use a simple vehicle. They use practicality and ingenuity, and that ingenuity was the Toyota AE86 Corolla. What most fans don't actually realize is that how can a simple car like this handle the drifting? Well, it is basically because of its famous power plant, a 1.6 liter twin cam 4A GE Silvertop power plant, making only a decent amount of horsepower. Although the power was a bit small but configurative, the Toyota AE86 didn't just become a car, it became a character development that was basically meant to evolve without any flash or gleam. It's just meant to be a simple machine that was meant to take on the biggest sports cars in the early 80s and the early 1990s. The story of the Toyota Corolla 86 was basically made by the Drift King himself, Keiichi Tsuchiya, who basically was a famous race car driver known for driving this specific Toyota. And in fact, the car that was driven in the Initial D manga series was a tofu boy slash racer called Takumi Fujiwara. And in fact, this story of the Initial D series was basically based on the Drift King himself in real life. But how did it all happen? Was the Toyota Corolla proving that sometimes even the smallest ones with less power is just better than more? Well, the answer is yes, it is. Although the Toyota Corolla was a economy car by the day, by the time that it was night on the mountain roads, you just realize one thing. This car was king of the mountain. It wasn't fast, nor powerful. And sometimes, maybe the best giants were not meant to be giants, and that giant was the smallest of them all. The smallest of all giants was this thing, a modest Toyota Corolla. Although the Toyota Corolla is small, but its durability and practical engineering just made a very big difference. The legacy of the Toyota Corolla wasn't just something modest. The Toyota Corolla became a legend in anime culture, and when anime culture happened with Initial D in the 1990s, it basically just goes to show. The Toyota Corolla may be small, but it is mighty. Like all small cars, Japanese cars of the 1980s and 1990s were small, they weren't really that big. But then you just notice the whole fact. The Toyota Corolla may be small, but it's mighty. It doesn't need V8s or an inline 6. It just needs a small 1.6 liter engine. And that is why everyone in Initial D knows that you can't beat a small car on a mountain road with practicality. And that practicality is proof. The Toyota Corolla doesn't need to be powerful. It doesn't need that much tuning. The tuning potential and simplicity blends with the Corolla just the way it is. It may be small, it may be slow, but it doesn't mean it can't race like a real race car. The Toyota Corolla AE86 was more than just a family car by day. By night, it plays a different role. It was a mountain race car for Japan. And when you see this tiny little race car, it just goes to show. Don't underestimate the small guys or the little of all things. The Toyota Corolla didn't just mark a legacy, it gained population and culture. The Toyota Corolla influenced itself thanks to Initial D, and when Initial D was made, that's when everything was just perfectly fitting. The Corolla 86 doesn't need that much rewards. It just needs to be modest. And sometimes being the modest of all things belongs to that category. That category is the Corolla itself. Thank you for watching. Make sure that you go comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.